The first we're making is kind of that stick to your ribs, kind of, you're not going to be hungry after this. Bean with bacon soup. It's like a man soup, but I happen to love it too. So I started out with about 8 strips of bacon, and you can either brown it up into strips and then, you know, crumble it up, or we just went ahead and cut it into pieces and then fried it up. And I'm going to get it out of the pan and get it onto a paper towel and drain some of that grease. And we're going to put that bacon back in the soup in a little bit, but we want to take advantage of all those great bacon drippings like they do down south. And I'll use that to give this soup some wonderful flavor. Now, if you have too many drip-ins, you can get rid of some of them, but I think this is just enough. We've got a few tablespoons in there, so that'll be perfect. I'm just going to keep that over to the side, and we'll get back to that bacon in a little bit. So I've got a few carrots that I've chunked up, and I just want to brown those carrots in the oil, just get them a little softened. Now I'm starting with the carrots because carrots take the longest to cook. So if you're putting carrots in with soup, sometimes I'll get the carrots going first, then I'll add my onion and my celery. So I'm just going to get to work on a few stalks of celery. And by the way, if you have any good soup or sandwich recipes, please let us know about them. Email us the recipes, or if you know any good places that they've got really great homemade soups. I'll go anywhere for a great homemade soup and sandwich. Really, I will. And it doesn't need to be the fancy places. Some of those hole-in-the-wall dives have the best food ever. Just want to get a little bit of color on the carrots. Starting to smell wonderful. Get my celery in here. I haven't had bean and bacon soup in a long time, so I was just craving it. We were putting the show together. I thought, yep, that's a winner. And now I'm going to add some onion. I've got one medium onion diced up. How are you doing today, Ann?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Now with soup, one of the most important things to do is season as you go. So this is that great mixture that we have: 1 cup of kosher salt and 1 tablespoon of coarsely ground pepper. We mix the two of them together, keep them by the stove, and whenever we need to season, we just pick it up and go. Now we do have the bacon in there, so we don't need to go overboard on the salt. But it's one of those things, if you just put a little salt and pepper in at the very end, your soup's not going to be as good as if you were seasoning it as you go into the different stages and steps. Oh, nothing smells better than that. That whole onion, celery, and carrot sauteing in bacon drippings. Wow. Got some fresh garlic here. It's also going to make this kitchen smell amazing, and the soup tastes really good. And I'm just using the back of my knife, giving it a quick whack so that I can chop it up. What, Ann?
My dad is watching you.
Your dad? Does he like bean and bacon soup? Perfect. Hi to Ann's dad. What's his name? Ray, who sent me that wonderful toffee. Thank you so much. And I know you're a great cook, Ray, so come watch. You'll have to bring him in sometime so we can watch the show, we can feed him. He'll be probably making this bean with bacon soup, you think?
I know.
Yeah? Okay. So those vegetables are starting to soften a little bit. Now I'm going to start opening. Now, the traditional way to make bean with bacon soup was to pick up a bag of, you know, the great northern beans and soak them overnight and then cook them for hours and hours and hours. And, you know, they are wonderful. And if that's the way you do it, by all means, go for it. You know me, I like to cheat. And it's got to be quick and easy, or it's just not happening in my house. So I, you know, love to find shortcuts. And the canned great northern beans rock. They just make this soup happen in, like, you know, 20 minutes or 30 minutes instead of hours and hours and hours. And sometimes, you know, you got other stuff to do. And these are not expensive. So I've got 3 cans the recipe calls for, and I just want to drain them. And I'm going to give them a little bit of a rinse. Now, you wouldn't have to, but come back with me. Bob is a real soup guy, so he's great when we, with having soup in the sandwich for dinner. And sometimes that's just, like I say, it's a quick fix, and especially if it's a warm, toasty sandwich in the winter with some soup. Just tastes so good. We're actually going to make paninis in a little bit, and bought a panini grill about 5, 6, 7 years ago. And my kids make them all the time, and they're just fun. They've really come down in price. When they first came out, they were really expensive. And you can certainly still spend big bucks on them, but I think we bought ours for about 40 bucks, and we've gotten, well, you still use it all the time. We've gotten our money's worth out of it for sure. All right, I'm just going to let the beans soak in this, sit in there for a minute until I'm ready to use them. All right, time to add some garlic. And you know the rule when it comes to adding fresh garlic. In there, and move it, move it, move it. You thought this was smelling good before. Oh, wow. A little bit of garlic in here really makes a big difference. It smells so yummy. All right, 30 seconds, get it going. Just so you can really start smelling that garlic, which I can now. So in goes some chicken stock. The recipe calls for about 2 to 3 cups. That's why I like to have these boxes on hand, because basically I can put the lid on if I need a little bit more. Soup is one of those things, it's just not exact. So I always like to have a little bit of chicken stock on hand. Now in go our beans that we've drained and rinsed. Canned beans, love to have those on hand in the pantry. There's just so many things you can do with them. Now at this point, season with a little bit more salt and pepper. And I'm going to put the lid on this baby and let it cook for a little bit. Now you see I've got the old potato masher out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that in just a few minutes to make this soup thick and creamy. So we're just about at the finish line for this. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to chop a little bit of fresh parsley to garnish the top. And soup's on. Well, we've been at this, well, I started the bacon a little bit before the show, but 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And this is, a quickie. And the canned beans really do make a huge difference. So by the time you make a panini and throw the soup together, and then it makes a nice big batch. You may have some leftovers for the week. Soup also freezes so well. So, if, we don't eat it during the week. Sunday, as I said, is my big soup making day. I normally, especially in the fall and the winter, make a big batch of soup every Sunday. And then, we'll have it around the house for lunches. I send Bob off to work with little containers of it so he can have it in his office for lunch and he can throw it in the microwave. But by, 3 or 4 or 5 days into the week, if we haven't eaten that soup, heck, I put it in freezer containers, put it in the freezer, and then we've got soup in the freezer that we can throw in the microwave when we need it. So, I don't know. I just really love soup, and I think it really, on a long, cold day, it's like a hug in a bowl. Nothing tastes better. All right, let's get back to this soup. Oh, Abby, my producer, wanted me to mention, we've got another big night out coming up. Really excited about it. They are so much fun. Once a month, we head to a different area restaurant, and these restaurants pull out all the stops at a really great price. So what they do is they put together the best of their menu, several different courses, and basically with cocktails, depending on the restaurant we're going to, and it's just so much fun. So please join us. Go to our website and find out more about our next big night out. Okay, back to the soup now. So I'm going to take my potato masher and just kind of mash up these beans just a little bit. I like to have some whole beans in here, but this is just going to thicken the soup. I bet Greg, our director, is excited about the soup. Greg, are you? I know, it's a manly soup. I know it. I knew it. All right. And you see how this just thickens it right up. Now we're going to throw our bacon back in here. Don't forget about that. I wasn't going to leave that out. bean with bacon soup. Put that in there. Thank you. And there you go. Soup is on. And I like this soup too because sometimes I'll make, ham and bean soup, but usually you need ham bone around. So this soup, you don't need that. If you got some bacon on hand, and we normally have bacon on hand for, Sunday breakfast and things like that, you're in business. Some bacon, some canned beans, carrots and celery, so you can use stuff that you already have around the house. Thick and rich. So much better than the canned stuff. All those great carrots and celery, and don't forget the bacon. Gotta get a little piece of bacon in there for me. There we go. And if you want, you wouldn't have to. But I like to finish my soup with something just a little bit fresh, so maybe just a little bit of that chopped up fresh parsley. There you go. And then gotta have something to dunk into that soup, so bread, garlic toast, whatever. There you go. It's my bean with bacon soup. Recipes on our website. You can also pick it up at any area Festival Foods, and it is delicious.